Riding Side Saddle, we're back. It is Tammy.
And Lisa.
And we have a guest again. She's back for the third time.
Lucky number 3.
Welcome, Jessica.
Hello.
With Always Forward Nutrition.
We are so grateful to have you.
Absolutely.
We, twice already, learned a lot about like why you do this, how you connect with your clients, and
What you do.
Yep. Why they want to do this. And then in our most recent episode, we talked a little bit more about really the fundamentals of your program with Always Forward.
Right.
Absolutely.
From a macro perspective and how things work for people differently based on what they're trying to accomplish, and, some foundational things about themselves, their sex, their weight, their demographic, that type of thing. So thank you so very much for coming back again to talk about this with us.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you.
Yay.
Last time we did talk about the macro part of your program, which is, that's the core of your program, right? It's a macro-based program, and calories come in there too, and so you're measuring and weighing your food and keeping track of it. So that's how this is something else that I never put together before meeting you, is how many calories are in something, right?
Sure.
I ate based on what was available, what I was hungry for, right?
Yep.
It never occurred to me that eating a whole ribeye steak, because it's there and it's available and I'm hungry because I didn't eat all day, that might, and all the fixings that go with that ribeye steak, that might be enough calories for an entire day.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Right.
But this is what I'm having for dinner, so I'm going to finish my plate.
Right.
Or the big one is going out
Or
and getting a
that.
salad.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Getting a salad out at most restaurants, they're 1,200 calories.
Right.
You're better off getting a burger.
Right.
And
it
some
is
vegetables.
crazy.
Right.
The caloric density and the understanding of what actually is in those calories, the nutrition part of it, is also part of the bread and butter, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
That sounds delicious.
Doesn't it? Warm sourdough and butter. Yes.
Which you can eat.
Yes,
That
you
is
can.
not a no-no.
Yes, you can.
Right.
Yes.
Though one of the recent things that I just learned, because in my last check-in, my fats were off, because it came up so silly because I had red meat, like that's what I had cooked. So I had red meat twice, not unhealthy foods, very healthy,
Right.
but it kind of fucked up my fats for like a couple of days.
Yep.
So one of the things that Jessica told me that I still didn't understand until this, and I'm probably not going to say it right, is for every gram of fat, it's 9 calories.
Correct.
For every gram of protein, it's 4 calories.
So it's much denser.
In your fats.
Yes.
Still a great protein source, but when we're looking at red meat versus like white fish,
meat.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
then you're getting more of, there's not really any fat in
Right.
white fish.
Right.
But yes, the caloric density is where we get ourselves in trouble, which brings us out of deficits.
Yes.
So if you're bulking, great, that's what we're trying to do. But if you're cutting,
Right. That's not
your
helping you.
your protein and carbohydrates can be spot on. But if fats are over, even by 10 a day, right, you're looking at 90 calories.
Right.
Over for 3 days in a row. We're looking at 270 calories for 3 days.
Right.
You do
Right.
that for 7 days, 630.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, did I do that right?
I don't know.
It's
I
a
can't do
lot.
math.
You're
It's
you're
more than
over
500, which
Right.
is what you need to lose a pound, or 2,500 to lose a pound. What is
250, 2,500
to
Wait.
lose a pound?
Yes, correct. So you
So-
need to keep you out of caloric overload
Yeah.
Right.
and keep you balanced while creating a deficit without going into famine mode.
Right.
Right.
So that's the key.
Right.
Right.
But yeah, your fats are What get us in trouble?
That was super frustrating for me, right? Because I didn't eat unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
It was all healthy and very much fine if I had separated those things out, right? And not had all of that in one day.
Yep.
Exactly to your point, right? That's what I had.
Yep.
Right.
That's what I cooked. So
Right.
this is what I'm going to eat.
Right.
So anyway, I've been doing this for a year and 3 months, and I am
Almost, yeah.
still learning.
And that's the beautiful thing
I'm
about
still
macros.
learning all of the things about it. It's
Every
super
season
awesome.
brings new
Yes.
things of
Yes.
knowledge and tidbits, right?
Yeah.
And I'm still learning.
Yeah.
It's an incredible thing.
It is. It's. I did not realize, number one, how much I was eating, and also how little I was eating. I can very quickly go into not eating, which
Default patterns.
Yeah.
it is, right? And it is. Gosh, it's so frustrating because you look at somebody who's overweight and you think, well, maybe you should skip lunch.
They probably did.
Right? They probably did.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
They probably skipped breakfast too.
Right.
Probably. Probably so. Right. And then they overeat dinner.
Yep.
So not only is their body in starvation all day long, but then they get to eat and it's way too much. So you're over in everything just at the end of the day.
Yep.
So your body's in trauma mode all day
All day,
long,
right.
and then it gets some fuel and it's way too much.
Right.
Yep.
So it's
Right.
still in trauma mode.
Still in trauma
Exactly.
mode. Still in
Right.
survival mode.
Right.
For
Still
sure.
in,
Yes.
what do I do with this?
Right.
Right. Right.
So one of the things we wanted to make sure to talk about in this episode, and we started talking about it in our last one, was really a focus on how very connected physical health is with mental health, is with emotional health.
And how nutrition fits into all of that.
100%. And it isn't really at least from my perspective, when I had been watching Liz throughout the last couple of years, that was always like, I need to get her to eat, I need to get her to eat, I need to get her to eat. But there wasn't ever a point to be able to say, this is the start. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if I can get her to do this, then all of these things are going to come into play.
Everything will fall into place if I just do this one thing.
Right. Like there
It's
wasn't
not like that.
There wasn't a linear piece to that. It's they are so deeply connected, right? Like we've talked about Liz in prior episodes that she struggled really hard with anxiety and depression. And it is the, you don't know what comes first, right?
Right.
The chicken or the egg.
Yes.
Right? Is it that anxiety and depression came and then she stopped eating because of anxiety and depression, but anxiety depression happened because you're not eating, right? So it like you can't necessarily be able to say, okay, stop, like we can figure this out.
You can't compartmentalize it.
Right. Like it all comes in together.
Yes.
And when you can't get out of bed, you can't make yourself, you
No.
can't get to the grocery store, and nothing like,
You're certainly not going to stand in front of a stove and cook a meal.
right,
Exactly.
right. It is,
Absolutely.
That was one of the reasons why I had to push pause before we even started. So Lisa and I were we were signed up to start at the same time,
Yep.
and I backed out because I was so completely depleted that I could not imagine having to keep track of every morsel. That's how it felt to me.
Yep.
It really isn't every single morsel, right? There's a little bit of wiggle room here.
Sure.
Yes, you have to be very diligent, and it is a lot of work.
But you have
That
to be
is
ready.
that was the piece I was like, I can't take any more work. I already feel like I have more than I can handle.
Right.
I cannot imagine adding one more thing and then having to think about what am I going to eat and how many calories and how many macros and how
Yep.
do I have
it
enough
feels
left to eat this?
exhausting.
It did
Right.
before
When
I
you were
even got
already
started.
exhausted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I did some work and I tried some other things chiropractic care, and I was seeing a nutritionist for a holistic nutritionist, which is different than what you were doing.
Sure.
But it got me to a point where, okay, I don't feel like I'm underwater all of the time. I still don't feel good,
Sure.
but I don't feel like it's impossible now. I could stand in front of the stove.
You could see the light a little bit.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You were getting out of bed.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
Right. So to your point, there is no, like,
There's
there's no
one
magic.
thing.
It's not
There
one
isn't.
trigger. Right.
If you could just move more, you'd feel better. Well,
Right.
I don't have the energy to do that.
Right.
I don't have the energy to make my own self lunch. So
Exactly.
I certainly don't have the energy to go for a run.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Right.
Exactly.
And I don't have the energy to get up at the time that my schedule
Would
needs
allow
me to get
me
up.
to do those
Right.
things. Correct.
It's not. It's never one thing, and I don't like
Right.
to always use. I don't like to use always and never, other than in. I think I
Yeah.
mentioned this in the first one, other than in my business name.
right.
Which makes no damn sense when you think about it. But there's reasons for it, right? But we're not going to get into that. There's never one thing that makes this thing work.
Right.
It's a plethora of things, and those things change daily, right? So
It always feels like a moving target.
yes,
It does.
It
But
does.
that's exactly why it works. Variance is the key to anything that works. Think about standing still for 30 years. What would you get done? Nothing. You would get
Get some
absolutely...
varicose veins.
Yeah, right.
You would. You would. You'd probably get a lot of other things going
Yeah,
on
I
too.
would.
But really, that's a little dramatic to think about. But if you have let's say it in your career, you've got this goal, right? You want to be a manager of HR. And you continue doing the same tasks that you've done for the last 8 years that you've been there.
In the same way.
In the same way, to the same people. What are you getting done? You're not going to reach the goal, right? So if we compartment, oh my goodness.
Yep. That word.
Compartmentalize. That's a big one.
You got some Lisaisms
here
going
we
on back
go.
there.
If we do that thing,
That she said.
what Tammy said, continuously, and we never put them in the same box, we don't come up with a solution.
Right.
Much like your point to mental health.
Right.
Of if we don't put everything in a box and shake it around and figure out how we make all of this work,
Right.
we're not going to ever get out of the box. We're never going to move the box to a different house.
Right.
That is one of the things that I love about your program. So there's a spreadsheet that you fill out, and as the client, you fill it out, and it's one column for every day, and it's these just core things. How many hours of sleep did you get? Your calories, your macros for the day. The one piece that I really, really love is the feel-good number. How did you feel today?
Yeah.
Every day, 7 days, there's a spot. How did you feel? And when it dips below a 3, that's when you're like, so what's going on?
What's happening?
Yeah. 3 is like at the very beginning of survival. Below that, you're in big
Not
trouble.
good.
You're in
So what's
trouble.
going on, and what do
Right.
we need to do to change that?
Or 3s across the board for 4 weeks straight.
Yes, right.
All right, so we're not moving our box to a different house.
Right.
Your numbers may look
Right.
great. The scale may even look okay.
Right.
But if mentally we're still
That.
struggling,
You still are walking through water all day, every day? That is
that's not
good.
okay.
And
Right.
that 3 might feel like walking through water for you because that's how you manage, like that's your go-to from a mental health perspective.
Sure.
A 3 for me is I'm running like crazy. Like I can't catch
Your
catch a breath. Right? It's go 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 go. So it's interesting
is
because
interesting.
that mental health component, like you might see a number, but it means something different for Tammy than it does for me
Absolutely.
as well. And everybody else, I'm
Oh,
certain.
I'm sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
Right.
You know, if anybody, like even when you're in the hospital and you have to look at
Yeah.
the little happy face,
Your pain
like,
scale or
yeah,
whatever.
that.
Yeah, right.
It's-
Your 7 is
it's
different than my
completely
7.
different.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right.
And that's what you guys just said is exactly why that number is associated with my program.
Yeah.
When some people are, well, why do you need to know that? Why does that matter?
Yeah.
The scale looks good, the numbers look good, why do you care? Because if our numbers look good, but when we're losing 10 pounds in a month or whatever that is, and you're still at a 3,
Right.
there's something going on mentally.
Right.
Identity, anxiety, depression,
Right.
something is happening.
Your
And
mental health is not improving.
exactly.
Right.
When your other numbers are improving, and that
those
is
things
a key
are
number.
correlated.
They are
Yes.
connected directly.
So I agree with you about the spreadsheet. I do like to relook
Well, you
at my
love
week.
yourself a spreadsheet anyway.
Damn right I do, girl. I think
Doesn't that make you feel so accomplished?
I do love the spreadsheet. I'm usually early with it, like in the morning.
Oh, you are.
But I will
I'm
say
not.
that the
No
best,
surprise there.
the best part of the spreadsheet, this woman ends up being my diary a bit,
Yeah.
right? So like
100%.
So explaining, I was 3s at whatever it was. I wasn't
Yeah.
feeling well. This happened, blah, blah, blah. And it helps that piece, the diary part of it, because I do like to write and get my
So
stuff
you
out.
put your notes in there about
do.
what was happening on any given day.
And not on any given day. I'll do a summary at the end of the
There's
week.
always
you
on
do.
the left-hand side on the bottom in the first box on Monday.
I ignore that box.
A lot of people do. Actually, that's not true.
That's so funny.
Some do.
That's my favorite part.
I know exactly where yours is. I know exactly where other clients are. Some write it in the email and
I
then
might do
attach.
that.
Oh, okay.
I might do
Some
that.
Put
Yeah.
it in the third day of the week, right in the middle, and then they
Yeah.
highlight it.
That's so
It's
funny.
crazy.
It is.
Everybody
That's
has
so
their.
But that's the story.
Yes.
That's the story,
Story
of
of
what
the week.
happened this
Yes,
week,
yeah.
right? I had 3s because I ate rump roast and sirloin burger on the same day,
Sure.
and I
And it
screwed
threw
my
me
numbers
off
up.
for-
Or while I was going through stuff with like Liz and Deidre, and my house was like completely insane, I wrote that stuff too. Like, shit's not going good.
Right.
And that allowed me to understand why the numbers said what they said.
Right.
But much like we talked about in the last episode we got together, trust is earned. Lisa didn't know me from
Right.
Adam down the street.
It took
Right.
it took a
Took a
little
minute.
bit. It did.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Because that's a very fragile piece of your life.
For sure.
Well-
especially when you're already fragile.
Especially for me,
Yeah.
because I'm pretty private.
You are.
right. So
Yes.
it
Absolutely.
took quite some time before I actually said what was truly happening in my life.
And it was big stuff. It wasn't
was
just
huge.
I was traveling over the
Yes.
week and,
Right,
and I
right.
ate too much chocolate and
Right.
now I'm just in a funk and
Absolutely.
I'll eat right and feel better in a couple of days.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
That was
It
something
was big stuff. Yeah.
big stuff. And I think a lot of times we forget about the residual that happens after.
Ooh, yeah.
well. That is
Events.
entirely true because I'm managing through a lot of that right now, actually. But even, I don't want to talk about that.
We haven't earned that yet.
I'm not done processing. It's
A different level of trust. Thank you very much.
right. But even
And that is
shit, no, I can't
totally
remember what I was
okay.
going to say.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Oh, I was going to say, in retrospect, while all of that was happening and life felt really ridiculous, and I couldn't figure out how to manage through from week to week, I am so grateful that I was doing this because number one, it grounded me.
You could control it.
It required me to make meals and think about how to take care of myself. When
my goodness.
everything
It would have been
else-
really easy to just get frozen pizza 6 times a week.
100%.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
I had to do this, and I was carving this really important part out for me. And nothing about my whole life was for
for
me
you.
for a year, or more. Like, it was probably 2 years. But this grounded me in you have to do this. You committed to it. You're doing it, no matter what is happening everywhere else. And I swear, I will swear to my last breath that doing this helped me get through that.
Wow.
So thank you.
Wow. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank yourself
That's remarkable.
for doing the work because, like Tammy said, it would have been very easy for you to say, F it. I'm not doing this.
Yep.
This is
I
too
can't
much.
do it right now.
Get me a Galding
Right.
Nutty Bar, and I mean
And
now.
my fucking donut
And you-
and eat
yep.
it too.
Right.
And my
Right.
beer.
Right. Yeah.
I had to, sorry. Too soon. Shit.
I'm still a little salty about that. Salty enough to put on 2 or 3 pounds.
God. Don't do it.
I won't. I won't.
But that speaks volumes, because it's A, not easy to recognize that. B, having to process and take care of yourself is a whole nother ball game, right? So think of where you would be 4 years ago. I picked that out of nowhere. Had all of what you had going on during this program happened without the program, where would you be?
It's hard for me to even imagine where I would be, honestly.
And that's because she could control the one thing in your life that is what you had control of, which
Yes.
is why it worked.
Yes, that.
I think it's more than that, though. Control is so important, especially when you're in a mental space or even a physical space where everything is out of control. But again, if you're putting the wrong fuel in your car, it's
That.
not going to run. If you
Absolutely.
are putting the wrong
Yes.
fuel in your body,
Yes.
so you're in survival mode anyway, because everything in your physical environment, your relationships, it's all topsy-turvy. But being fueled properly,
Correct.
you handled it.
Yes.
Even
I
if
agree.
it didn't feel like you were.
I agree.
Even if sometimes you weren't, but most of the time you were managing.
Yes.
You wouldn't have been if your body didn't have the proper fuel.
Exactly.
Even healing from your surgery.
Yeah.
Food is medicine.
I 100% agree about the surgery, and I watched it on the scale.
Yeah.
So that was, it's not an anomaly, but that is an example all by itself.
Absolutely.
But to your point, Tammy, yes, it grounded me. I was carving out something that I could control, and that was super, super important for my mind. But in addition, equally as important, the nutrition that I was actually giving my body was allowing me to survive that better than had I not had that as a core piece.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And that comes with I think there's been a lot of conversations, and probably with the two of you, I can't remember exactly, but in the emails that I send every week, effort looks different every day. Your 100% today is different than your 100% on Wednesday.
Yep.
Right.
And there's not a damn thing wrong with that.
Right.
If
That's
you
just life.
If you gave
Yeah.
me 100% in those few months that all of these things were happening, that's what you had to give. And that doesn't make you wrong.
Right.
That 100% today may be really only 85 right now sitting here, or maybe not. But we think of when we're at the peak of this program, when we're doing really well and shit's going exactly the way that it should go, and you're like 3 months of perfection. I hate that word, but for
Feeling
for
really
you
good,
to understand,
Right.
You know,
You're hitting
in a
your
perfect
numbers,
world,
the scale is moving right, the feel good is right.
your energy is
doing
great.
great.
You're working out 5 days a week. You no sugar, or less sugar, less caffeine, all the good things. We're sleeping really well every night. That 100% is much different than a survival 100%.
Yeah.
And that
Oh,
is
gosh, yeah.
okay.
Right.
That doesn't make you a failure.
Right.
It doesn't make you right or wrong.
That is fucking life.
It is life.
It is just it.
It is. And that's exactly why we have to put everything in a box and shake it up and figure out how to do it
Yes.
Today.
together.
Right.
Right. And when we talk about not being okay and how last episode we said we can't live there.
Right.
We have to start picking shit out of that box.
Right.
Yep.
Right. What
Even
can
when
I
it's
do?
what can
Right.
I do? Can I get out of bed today and take a shower?
Right.
Can I get out of bed today and take a shower and fry an egg? Can't those things.
And that's 100% on that day.
And that's 100% on that day.
Yep.
Right.
And some days you do 4 loads of laundry, cook four dinners for the rest of the week. You do all the kids' homework. You do all your work things. And it's noon and you're like, what can I
at
do
me.
next?
Right.
Yeah.
How does
Right.
every day feel different? right?
When you're doing the same things.
When you're
every
doing the
day,
same
right?
things. I ask myself this a lot. Like last Monday, I got shit done. I was like, I got like
You
an
were on fire.
hour and a half to kill. And then the following day, I was treading water. But I had almost the same things to do.
Right.
How does that happen? So my percent was different that day.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
My mental health, my feel good scale was different. I was at a 5 on Monday. I was at a 3 on Tuesday.
Right. Right.
And I had to shake that box up a little bit. All right, I will very often say out loud to myself in a room full of nobody, one thing, Jessica.
Right.
Yep.
Pick one thing.
Right.
Nothing else matters.
Yep.
And then when that thing is done, pick number 2.
Yep.
I say those things. Pick
Yes.
number 3.
The words I say is just keep going, because if I don't do something, I'm going to stop entirely.
Yep.
Right. So
You'll
just
crash.
Kind of like pick one thing, right? Just keep going. Just
keep going.
Just do that one thing. Just go.
Just one more thing.
Right.
Yep.
One more.
Right.
One more thing.
Those days are really hard. I truly lived for decades in that place. To me, it feels like walking through water.
Yeah.
Like it's
Every
so
step
hard.
is heavy.
Yes, and you don't really get anywhere. So much energy to expend to just move a little bit. I think before I started with your program, I can truly remember one day where I would have, in hindsight now, logged my day as a 5 once in my entire adult life.
Wow.
After your program, I have had consecutive days
Yes.
at 5.
That's awesome.
Not every day as a 5.
Those 5s make me so happy.
Me too.
My
I'm like,
goodness,
this is
they make
how,
me happy.
Is this how everybody feels? This is what I've
I
been
should have did
missing
this
out
20
on.
years ago.
Yes,
You
this is
know,
what I've
though,
been missing out on.
That's the thing, is that I don't think a lot of people do actually
don't know what
feel
5s are.
No.
that way.
I'm
right?
not a 5 every day,
No,
even
I'm not
following
either.
a program. I'm not a
Absolutely.
5
Right,
every day.
Right.
Absolutely.
But I'm
not.
also not a 3 every day.
Right.
Absolutely.
And if I am, and it's for more than a few days, I know something's happening, right? It's we talked about this, I think, in our first episode together.
Yeah.
It's an awareness. If it's
is.
nothing else,
It is.
it's an awareness.
We can't have awareness
That is
until.
valuable to me.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. And that's something when you hear it from the outside looking in, well, how hard can that be? It's fucking hard.
It is.
It is.
It's
It absolutely
so
is hard.
hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I commend you for recognizing the difference between 1-5 in your whole adult life to I've done the work and now I'm feeling 3 5s in 1 week.
Yeah.
Liberating.
Yes.
I literally said to Tammy the other day, I'm like, this is what it feels like to feel healthy.
Yes, to feel well.
No matter
yes.
what the scale says.
Right.
Correct.
Right. This
Correct.
is like at 50, almost happy birthday. Right. This finally, I think I'm starting to understand what it feels like
wellness
to be
is.
healthy.
Yes.
Right. And
I'm
I'm not like entirely there, but I'm way different than what I was 2 years ago.
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
And not just physically, but mentally.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Connection.
Yes.
It's connected. No ifs, ands, or buts
All
about
of
it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us again to talk about these things.
Always.
It's one that's near and dear to me. It's been a thread through
gosh.
writing Side Saddle from the literally day one.
Yep.
We talk about this shit
It's why
all
we
of the
started
time.
this.
Well,
It
and,
is.
and thank you for doing that because I
Yeah.
think that the world needs more of that. And even though it's uncomfortable,
It's life.
it makes people they don't know how to react to it sometimes, especially when they haven't experienced something themselves.
Right.
They have a really hard time understanding how to help somebody who's going through something like that. Have you ever done an episode like that? Have you talked about those things? How do you help somebody?
I'll be honest with you. If I were better equipped, I continue to try to figure it out
Absolutely.
a bit. I don't
just
feel
curious.
like I am any level of expert in that.
Sure.
I don't think I'm an expert in gosh darn anything.
No.
But I have valuable information
Yeah.
and I am happy to share it. It is not always well received.
Sure.
And that is very hard. So would I love to help people? Sure. But not everybody is
Not
in
everybody.
a place where they can
Right.
where they
Yeah,
can
that's-
you know, like buy in, I'll say. Right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Like, especially it
Well, and I think that goes along with, what I was saying before. Our society doesn't have enough people talking about it,
Yeah.
in my
Yes.
opinion. And so I just wanted to make sure that I said thank you to you guys for doing that.
Thanks for that
Thank you.
acknowledgement.
Absolutely.
It's hard.
It's hard.
Life is just fucking hard
It is.
sometimes.
It absolutely
And
is.
it's also wonderful and beautiful and amazing.
all the things in between.
It's a mountain range.
It is. Yes.
Nothing is linear.
Nothing.
is.
It isn't linear. That's for darn sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
right.
we need to wrap this
We
one
do.
up. So, Todd at Mind Garden Media, thank you for being our steadfast, for following along with us. You know, you're probably kicking and screaming, and we just don't know it. But thank you for all of your hard work and efforts. We truly, truly appreciate you. If you're
Every
looking,
time.
absolutely. If you want to do a podcast, reach out to them. They're on Facebook, Mind Garden Media.
Yep, absolutely.
And thank you to our listeners.
And Jessica's listeners,
Yes,
too.
for sure.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for Jessica's listeners being our new listeners.
Yeah. All right. See you next time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Toodaloo.